How's everybody doing today?
Who was?
Yeah, you guys. You know, I'm talking. Ben, who cares? I'm kidding. How are you guys doing?
Good. Happy to be in Roseville.
Yeah. So far so good. I mean, it's first panel of the day. Day's just getting started, but not bad. I mean, Roseville, beautiful out. You know,
Totally.
nice.
We couldn't ask for a better day to be inside.
It is. Well, we can just, if you don't mind, we can just have some, I obviously introduced your names already, but if you don't mind, we can, Rodger, what do you do in Pokemon?
Well, I've been the narrator of the show since it began, and there was a short interruption when a producer and I got into a tiff about whether or not I should come back and do a replacement line of a trailer I had recorded for one of the Pokemon movies, and he said, "I'm not paying you." So I said, "I'm not doing it." And that's what led to the hiatus. What was interesting was the fan reaction to that, which was basically, bring them back.
Woo!
You know what helped? When they gave up the contract. And it went back to Tosh Productions. So, what can I say?
Well, I'm glad that all worked out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Lisa Ortiz is the director. You guys have worked with Lisa, right? Lisa Ortiz?
I have to say something about Lisa. Lisa began as one of the characters.
Yes.
But what happened with Lisa, by the way, I think she's a wonderful, intelligent woman.
So
I
good.
can't tell you or praise her anymore. She approaches directing by looking at the assets of the performer, by listening to what they do, and by helping them do what the character needs based on how she reads the performer. And it was so incredible to be directed by her because it wasn't so much a direction as it was an inspiration.
Yeah, I would love to know because we were under a contract with 4Kids that we had already moved, but we were not allowed because of a clause in our contract to continue when it went to Taj. How were you able to do that?
Because he let me go.
Because you had already walked.
And by the way, I wrote them a letter and had my attorney write them a letter saying, "You have breached my contract because you did not give me proper notice." That got me out of any obligation to honor. He was I won't mention his name, and I don't think it bears, anyone can research and find out, but you don't mistreat actors. And when you do, you get less.
Yeah, oh, totally.
And what's a shame is people learn that lesson the hard way over and over, but coming back to Lisa, when you have a good director, when you have a good production company, it's not even work anymore. You're entering in another world where you can have the most fun, even as a not character, as the narrator who opens and closes the show. It gives you the opportunity to begin the emotional journey, so that you're not just dropped into the show with and now here's Pokemon. But and now, here's the show. Or something's really fun going on in, let's name a town. How about Palatine?
Oh, you always sound like you care. Like there's there's something about your voice that is so special in that introduction that we believe that you care about Ash. There's Ash right there. There's a real life Ash. Yeah. So I'm meeting Rodger for the very first time this weekend. After all these years of hearing, I'm getting like emotional hearing your voice, and it's nice that you're a great guy. Like you've been so sweet and charming and lovely, and what a shame if you were like this jerk with this sweet voice, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's a few of them around.
Oh, yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry for the long-winded, yeah.
You know, I think that when you think about how voiceovers have evolved, I remember I started out doing voiceovers in the open reel days for an audition tape. Then it went to cassettes. Then it went to CDs. Then it went to, and is now MP3s. But what are we up against? Pardon me, excuse me. We're up against AI. We're up against the other thing is, when you have the cachet of doing what we've done, that's one good thing. The second, pardon me, I don't know why my nose is running, but a home studio is critical. I set mine up in 2002. And what was interesting about that was I even suggested to the big voices in the city, why don't you get a home studio? And I said, well, I'll get it when I need it. Well, COVID came along. And so all of these super talented, super successful voiceover guys, I even helped one set up a home studio. He couldn't learn the equipment because as soon as you go to home technology, if you can't get your computer to function right, there's something wrong with Pro Tools, whatever it is, you're out of the business. But with a home studio, it made it easier for me because I do a lot of not Pokemon stuff, but boring old business stuff, like instructional safety tapes, corporate structure. I would even do a voiceover where you show up at an annual meeting of a company, and you do the speech that the CEO does, because he sounds like this. And he comes on and takes his bows, but voiceover work is varied. The thing is, you've got to also have a hook. If you've done Pokemon, that's a hook. And the more of these little quirky things that you have are great, but the one thing that will sell you more than anything else is a superb demo tape that shows your versatility, your fun, and maybe even your love of the business. Because if I want to work with somebody, it's going to be somebody who loves it as much as I do.
Thank you so much.
When did you guys realize that you guys had a hit? That it was as big as we knew it was after the first few episodes?
Well, I think that the coverage was so good because the stateside anime folks thought, I mean, Japan had already proved itself, but they hadn't had anything as big as Pokemon hit. When Pokemon hit, everyone went, how did Nintendo do it? Well, who knows? But I have a theory about that. I don't know if any of you have seen Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey on educational TV. He also wrote a book by the same title. And the theory in mythology goes that every culture has a mythology that celebrates the work of a hero. Is George Washington the hero of the American Revolution? Is Jason the hero who found the Golden Fleece? Is Ash a hero in the age of anime? For the stuffy people, they say, oh no, he's not a real hero. But in today's world, you damn well better believe he is. And the show proves it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, and I know we've talked about this, we knew that the show was doing well because we would see the TV guide covers and all that kind of stuff, and my cousins were watching it. But when you're recording in a tiny little booth with just one other person or a director, like two people, and again, there was no social media for people to tell us how much they liked it. I don't think we fully grasped it until we saw the movie on the big screen at the Ziegfeld in New York, and all of a sudden we see it with an audience of kids going crazy, with people waiting online. I mean, I know for me it was like, oh, I'm part of something important, you know, and it was such a really lovely, you know, a lot of us were able to be there together, and we all like each other, which is so nice. And yeah, to me that was my aha moment.
Yeah, same. It was that night at the Ziegfeld and seeing, I can still picture like the crowds outside the theater, and the excitement in the air, and yeah.
I think for me it was, I had done the narrator coming out of the 60s and 70s, that character. That character was the guy that you've heard 1,000 times in films from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He's the narrator, all right, and I didn't believe in doing narration that way. And that got me work in the business. When I heard the Japanese narrator's intros, that was how he did it. But my concept of the narrator, based on my own experiences, you have to be a human being. You can't be this person who's doing the same intro the same way all the time. So we developed the habit of looking at the first few moments of the show. Then I would do the intro based on where the emotion was going to start. And that's what I think every narrator should do. Now, an announcer is just a person who announces, but a narrator is a storyteller. And if you begin as a storyteller, now the people who listen are ready to hear it. You know, I got into the voiceover business in a very peculiar way. I was wondering, how the heck am I going to break through? And up until that time, I've been doing technical work. So I got a job fixing the CAM editing table, a horizontal editing table where you put film on its side and you roll it through picture modules and sound modules, and you edit the actual rough, a working copy of the film, which then is edited. So I went to a place called Kaleidoscope Films on East 57th Street. I met a man called Don LaFontaine. Perhaps you know who Don LaFontaine is, because in a world without Don LaFontaine, it wouldn't be much of a world. He gave me my first demo tape. He made it. We just hung out. I couldn't believe the generosity of this man. And there are so many people in this business that have been so kind to so many other people. That's the reason all of us are here, because of those wonderful people that they had nothing to gain, and they helped other folks. It was beautiful to me, beautiful. He's gone, but certainly not forgotten. You know, what's interesting about dubbing a film from a foreign language into English, it's more than the lip flop. It is how do you preserve the culture of the language spoken as an American actor who doesn't know anything. And I think what helped me, not so much with that work, because I kind of wouldn't take it if it wouldn't work. But I remember when Pokemon just started out, and this is somewhat unrelated to your question, but it relates to the connectivity of how do you get in sync with the story. The scripts were top secret. We were given a paper, and it was taken away, and then, you know. The last few years of Pokemon production, we got the script. At the end of every script was a summary of the story. So if you got the script, you could read the summary of the story. You knew what was going on. You could look at the opening, actually see the words, see the direction that was suggested in the script. So if they had started that from the beginning, just trust the actor. Now I have all the script from the last 3 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's because I have a home studio, and when COVID came along, hey, nothing going on in the studios no more. So, anyway.
That's actually perfect. That's kind of our time for now, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being at SacAnime. Thank you guys for being here. Please give a big round of applause.